Hi, you guys. Welcome back. My name is Carrie Penny. I am the Happy Crafty Homemaker, and today we are going to be doing one of my quick tutorials. Today's tutorial is on the granny square hexagon, solid granny hexagon that I am using as part of the Nickelodeon hexagon blanket pictured here. This is part of my Project Christmas Blanket 2025 goal, which was after the new year project goal I set for myself to make a blanket for all four of my stepsons, two daughter-in-laws, and four grandchildren. So this is the blanket that I'm making for my eldest grandson. This is the solid hexagon that I am using for that blanket. And I wanted to do a tutorial using this one versus the actual granny stitch hexagon that is part of the kaleidoscope blanket. We will come back to that hexagon as well at a later date, but I think one of the things when I make tutorials, I'm very conscientious about giving you multiple options or giving you a canvas to write your own creativity, design your own design kind of thing. And using this solid hexagon form from this hexagon gives you flexibility to make your own design. So you can add textures and bobbles, and you could reduce this, to single crochets or half double crochets. Mine is going to be double crochet, but you will have the tools on how to build this solid hexagon from this tutorial. And from there, you can design your own hexagon, adding any stitches you want to create interest and drama in your finished objects. So I chose to do this one first because I feel like this is the more flexible pattern, whereas the other hexagon I'm using is a granny puff stitch blanket. So I wanted to go with the more flexible, easier to design your own project hexagon first. As I said, for the purpose of this tutorial, I will be using double crochet, but you can do this with a half double crochet or a single crochet. You may want to adjust the corner chains to get the right height and distance based on what you choose to do, but this will lay the groundwork for you. Also, this is a project where you can use any hook, any size of yarn. In this case, I am using a worsted weight yarn. This is Premier Basics, along with my size I 5.5 millimeter Clover or More hook. And obviously, as with any project, scissors and tapestry needles are also needed. So let's get on to the tutorial. This is going to be a quickie tutorial. You will need to know how to chain, how to count your stitches, and how to do exactly what I'm doing, do a double crochet. So I will be right back for the tutorial. Okay, you guys, so we will have a second video that is how I'm joining these for the Nickelodeon blanket. Today is just making the hexagon. So you can use magic loop if you trust your magic loop. I do not trust my magic loop. So I will be doing a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, making a loop, slip stitching to make it a loop. And I am going to chain 1 extra long chain. So to set your foundation, I've seen a couple of different ways to do this. To my eye, and to make math easy, this is my preferred start for the solid hexagon. We are going to do 2 double crochets, 1 double. I'm sorry if you can hear my cat Pippin in the background. I am filming in the kitchen, and he thinks every time I sit in this chair, that means it's time to go out on the catio to go play. But I cannot have the back door open while I'm sitting beside it and film. So I do apologize if you hear him in the background. So we have 2 double crochets, 2 chain 2s, 2 double crochets, 2 chain twos, 2 double crochets. I bet you can guess what's coming next, right? 2 chain twos. You're going to want 6 chain 2 clusters ending with a chain 2. So 2 double crochets, 2 chain twos, 2 double crochets, 2 chain twos. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We need one more here, 2 double crochets, and 2 chain twos. All right. So from here, we are going to slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet to close up our round. So now we have this kind of like funky-itis, almost flower looking circle here. We're going to do another long chain. If you prefer doing a chain 2, chain 3, that's fine. I think the elongated chain there just looks cleaner. It kind of absorbs into the fabric better. That's why I do that. But if you are more comfortable doing a chain 2, you do you, boo. Once again, I'm here to give you the foundation of how to do this, not dogmatic rules. So we are going to do a double crochet back into that chain 2 space we just made. Double crochet. We are going to double crochet into the tops of these 2 stitches here. So 1, 2. And 1 double crochet into the next chain 2 space. And this is why I prefer doing the start of this with the 2 double crochets. I've seen it with 1 and I've seen it with 3. Visually, it is easier to count in evens for most people, not all, but most people. And it also makes it easier at a glance to see what you have. So we have on this row 2, we have 4 double crochets in each of the 6 sides at the end of this. So we're going to chain 2, double crochet into our chain 2 space. Each row we will be adding 2 double crochets to our sections. So we go from 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 to however many you want to have. In the sample blanket that I am currently working on, the Nickelodeon Hexagon, I have 8 rounds in each of those hexagons. But this is 100% a, look at what you got, look at the design you're building, and from there, build your design out, flesh your design out. So we have 4 double crochets, chain 2, double crochet into your chain 2 space, double crochet into the 2 double crochets, and double crochet into your chain 2 space. Chain 2, double crochet into the chain 2 space, double crochet into your 2 existing double crochets, and double crochet into your chain 2 space. Chain 2, double crochet into your chain 2 space, double crochet into the tops of your 2 double crochets, double crochet into the chain 2 space. Now we have reached back to the beginning of the round, so we are going to chain 2. We're going to look for the top of that first stitch, ignoring our chain 1, and we are going to slip stitch. So now we distinctly have turned our little funky floral circle into a hexagon. Now each subsequent round is the exact same formula. Go up, in my case it is a chain 1, elongated chain 1, double crochet into the chain 2 space we just made. We are going to do, this is now row 3, doubles here. So a double of 1 is 2, a double of row 2 is 4, a double of row 3 is 6. So we're going to have 6 double crochets at the end in each wedge here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that is in the chain 2 space. So we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, double crochet in the chain 2 space, double in the next 4 double crochets. It's funny because I'm filming this at a time where Pippin is normally in the middle of nap mode. But like I said, I came in here and sat down at this seat at the kitchen table, and that means go outside to him. So we doubled in chain 2 space, 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets, doubled in the chain 2 space, giving us 6 stitches, chain 2 for the corner, double into the chain 2 space. And to be honest, that is it. That is the magic of the solid granny hexagon. So like I said, you can do this in any stitch you want. I mean, you might get something a little extra floppy if you take it all the way up to like a treble crochet, but you could do, you know, link doubles, half doubles, single crochet, whatever bend you are on. You can do this with fingering weight yarn and a, you know, tiny T90 hook. You can do this with your jumbo bulky yarns. This is just a basic motif, a basic shape. I'm actually surprised I haven't shown hexagons on here before. I have not hit a max size where you need to do funky math with a hexagon yet. I have only done one not motif hexagon. It's my hexagon nap blanket that's part of Project UFO that I haven't finished yet. And for that one, the only reason why we had any funny math in the way that increased out was because I did something wrong, I think. And I had to go back and find a way to make it lay flat again. But if you've done a lot of circles, you will know that you hit a certain point in doing stars and circles where you have to do funny math to make your project lie flat. With a hexagon, as long as you don't mess up your stitches like I did, you don't normally have that problem, or at least I haven't come across that problem like you do with circles and some other shapes that you may extend. So now we're back at the beginning of the round. I'm going to insert our hook into stitch number 1. And there we go. And you can see very clearly here how that chain 1 just kind of blends into the work. By working back and then joining, we have a very clean corner join, just like we do in the granny square tutorial that I showed you guys, where we use the same method to coming around on the granny square. So this is, I mean, once again, it's a very basic, simple shape that you can alter and dude up and change however you would like. So I will sit here and just chit chat with you guys. If y'all want to watch me do a 4th round, round 4, 4 times 2 is going to be 8. So we're looking at 8 stitches. Once again, I love the simplicity of doing the base 2 hexagon because it just makes it so easy. So easy peasy lemon squeezy. I'm going to make sure I have my stitch right there. Also, I know that there are a number of beginners or intermediate beginners that have been popping into my tutorials recently, which I love seeing you guys. You are more than welcome here. One of the questions I did get recently was, how do you know which stitch to go into and start your count from? Now, some designers will design their pattern to count the chain as a stitch. I tend to ignore that and don't do that and do my own thing on the edge, depending on the project. But when you're looking at your work, so I just made this double crochet. It looks like a flagpole with a flag, and the flag is flying to the right. So my next stitch, or say I was going to skip a stitch, I'm going to skip this flagpole and this flag and work into this flagpole and this flag. When you turn your work, your flag is going to be flying, pointing towards the left, and then right-handed or right side is going to be pointed to the right. And that's just an easy way. I heard it explained that way on a show from many, many moons ago called Uncommon Threads. And it was a guy who actually worked for a yarn manufacturer. And he had learned how to crochet from his mom or grandmother or somebody. It was a female family member. And for some reason, even after having crocheted at that point for, probably 20 years, that stuck in my brain in such a great way to help my brain understand, especially when you're working intricate stitch patterns over multiple stitches, to know which stitch is what. And sometimes it can get kind of confusing. So I just always, remind myself the first flag is what I'm looking for when I'm starting a new row around. It's not always the first flag pole. I'm looking for that first flag. And for some reason, that just is one of those weird little brain bits that just really helped me remember what was stitch one, what was stitch two, especially when I was turning my work or working in the round with an intricate design. So I just thought I would pass that little tidbit on while we sit here and chit chat as I work row 4 here. The yarn I'm using for today's tutorial, this is Premier Basics. I do have an affiliate link for Premier down below. This is one of the scraps left over from my youngest granddaughter's Christmas blanket when I did the quilt blanket. That was the blanket I did the 8-patch or 9-patch block from in a tutorial. I do need to eventually come back and do the tutorials for the rest of the blocks in that Afghan. But this was just a scrap that I had on hand. So I thought we could roll with this. So the next video, we'll be doing this as a join as you go, no borders and sashing. So it's literally going to be hexagon to hexagon, just like the Nickelodeon blanket. And then we will come back and do another tutorial. I'm not sure how quickly, showing how to do it using a different yarn to join your squares. But here we are closing in on the end of row 4 here. Because of these samples I keep doing in these tutorials, I'm going to end up with quite the stash of scrap squares that I'll eventually have to figure out what to do with. Slip stitch this closed here. And there we have our solid hexagon, and it has now fully taken the hexagon shape. We no longer have, kind of like a wonky circle or a squaring off circle. We now fully have a hexagon. So if you have any questions, leave them down below. I do generally try to answer any comments or reply to any comments within 48 hours here on the channel. If there is something about this that does not make sense, let me know. But like I said, the next tutorial will be how to do these, joining them directly to one another. And then we will have a whole nother tutorial combination where we talk about the granny puff hexagon, and joining it as you go with a continuous join as you go with a different yarn. So anyway, I love you guys. I hope you're having a wonderful, fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you guys very soon. Hi, you guys. Welcome back. My name is Carrie Penny. I am the Happy Crafty Homemaker, and today we are going to be adding to our solid hexagon. So, sorry, this is taking me a little bit longer to get uploaded than originally anticipated. There has just been other things that I needed to put up quicker, so thank you for bearing with me. So before we get started on actually joining our hexagon, some things I wanted to talk to you before. So if you did not watch the tutorial on the solid hexagon here, there's a link for that in the description box down below, as well as it should be popping up in the iCard. This is not a tutorial to learn how to crochet, but how I am joining these hexagons together in their larger form for the blanket in progress that I will show here on the screen now. So this is what I'm calling my Nickelodeon hexagon blanket. This is going to be a Christmas gift for my oldest grandson. And this was requested, how I did the hexagons and how I'm joining the hexagons as I am actively working on this blanket. So the blanket itself is not done. It is currently a work in progress still. So we do not have a finished object to share as part of this. So to do the hexagon, you needed to know how to chain, slip, and double crochet. In order to know how to join these together, we're going to be joining these together in process of doing a double crochet. I know that sounds way more difficult than it needs to be, but this is literally join as you go. So many of you will know I crochet and knit as I walk. And when you're working on a blanket project, you can't really take the entire blanket with you on the go. I also knit and crochet in the car a lot. So what I have been doing with my blanket is working up to my final row and doing the first 2 sides of the 6 sides, leaving 4 unworked sides. And that takes me to where I can join. For my Nickelodeon blanket, I am joining basically in strips. So we started with a flat join, and then I filled in the gap, and then we joined here. I will do a tutorial on how I'm closing the half hexagon gap. I am leaving the triangle gap on my blanket. This makes up the long edge, so that my 2 long sides will be straight. The top and bottom edge will have a deckled edge on my blanket. But the reason why I'm showing you how I've been joining my blanket, so we're working down where everything next row will, pop bottom to bottom, side to side, and it's up to 4 joins, because you will have occasionally a join on this edge down here if you're joining from right to left. It doesn't matter if you join right to left. It's whatever you're comfortable with. I just say consistency, however you're doing it, be consistent, and how you're doing it is important. But this is not the only way you can join hexagons to create a pattern. So you can join hexagons on point. You can do a grandmother's flower garden, and you do 3 more here, and that would create a flower motif. I am going to, at the end of this video, pop in some images of different quilts that are hexagon based, but you can find all kinds of different hexagon quilts and kind of mimic a blanket based on those. There are some really pretty ones that use diamonds, using your hexagons to make diamonds like these, building those out and then inserting those into larger shapes. I think what I'm going to do with this is I'm working on it is actually going to be turning this into a grandmother's flower garden quilt. I have a ton of scraps, and I have a ton of scraps that are like this size, and that's just enough to make 1 hexagon. So I do have a larger quantity that I could order these out in a white. So I think that's what I'm going to do is for me, I'm going to join these in the motif to make a grandmother's flower garden motif. But if you're trying to figure out how to line these up, the best way to do it is just kind of laying out, how you kind of want these to go. So say you want to do like the strips like I did, you're going to fill in the gap here, and then you'll join one down here, and you'll keep joining, filling in the gap as you go down these sides. And you'll notice like here, you've got this side that goes together, this side that goes together, and then this side that goes together. So you have 3 sides that you will need to seam up there, which is why I work up until I have 4 unworked sides on my final row as I'm taking this like in the car or on the go and stuff. And I don't have to take the entire blanket with me. It's just a matter of then coming home and joining in the hexagons that I have done. I've prepped these with that in mind, so I can show you how I do this as a walking project or a traveling project. And also because this makes it easier for me to just show you how I'm joining things together. If you want the tutorial, once again, to doing the full hexagon, I will leave that in the description box down below. So joining the sides together here. So depending on how you lay out your hexagons, depending on how you're wanting to lay these out, the first thing you've got to do is figure out how you're joining your first 2 together. Or first 3, depending on, if you're coming across something, a little bit weird. But what I do, let's make sure. So I've taken this up. Let's take it to the double. We have completed the last double on this side. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 stitches. It's a 4 round. Once again, that's why I love that base 2. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. So we're going to chain 1, insert our hook to the corner that we're going to join this into, slip, and chain. So that gives us our chain 2 now. We're going to double crochet into our hole. And we're going to find the corresponding stitch here, insert our hook, and draw our loop from our double crochet through it. This is a standard join as you go procedure. There is nothing unfamiliar if you've done a join as you go before. Oops. Filming this through the camera is a little bit difficult, I will say. So we're just going to draw through. So double crochet in the next stitch. And then we're going to find our next stitch here. Insert our hook. Draw through our loop. Double crochet. Insert our hook. Draw through our loop. double crochet, take your hook out, insert your hook into the corresponding stitch, put your loop back on there and draw it through. Double crochet in the next stitch, take your hook out, insert it into the adjacent stitch, put the loop back on your hook and draw it through. Now, I like this method in general. I think this is a very aesthetically pleasing way to join things. So we're going to double crochet. I like the twisted braid look that this gives. And as we're just joining these two together, I am still going to bring this around and through and chain. Hold on, I need to do a cat check real quick. They're fine. I'm filming a tutorial and they're out in their little enclosure. And I swear every time I try to film while they're on the enclosure, they decide they're going to go banana pants out there. Anyway, so it's just the same way that we did the original join. So we've done our double crochet into the loop, chain one. We're going to insert our hook, draw the loop through, and chain one. And then we can come back around. And for this one, we're just going to complete the hexagon. We didn't need all four sides. You can wait to, like, once you know how many you need, you can, once again, do this in any way that's most easy for you. I generally just go ahead and add with the 4 empty sides and then just work off the rest of my hexagon. But if you realize you only need 2 sides, you might want to work the 2 non-joining sides and then elect to, then end with your 2 joins. I don't really care one way or the other, so it looks even regardless. You may decide, okay, once you hit a certain mass, you don't want to bother with it anymore. Once again, there's nothing wrong with that. Consistency is key in getting your final piece to look cohesive. That's why I always tell people, as long as your stitches look correct and you have an even stitch pattern and you don't have something, that causes a jog when you need it to jag or jag when you need it to jog, it's not a big deal. We don't need to make a big deal out of it. All right, so we've come back to the beginning of the hexagon. So we'll slip stitch here. And we have our first 2 hexagons joined. And we have this just nice, I love that little twisted look to it. I just find that very pretty. To me, it's like everything just enmeshes together and it's nice, smooth, and easy. Oh, of course, I forgot my scissors. Hold on again. One thing I will say with the Premier Basics mini yarns, you can just kind of pull with your hands and snap it if you've got decent grip strength and stuff. Premier Basics does not snap. This isn't an ad for them or anything. It's just, that's the yarn I was using and I had left over from other projects and it was here, but oh no, now they're both mewing at each other like, I swear, there's just no winning for losing when I come in here to film tutorials. Banner's now looking like he's trying to catch something. I swear. Anyway, joining our next one in. So once again, depending on how you have decided to lay your hexagons out, you can also, there's hexagon graph paper that you can print out. There's just all sorts of different ways you can figure out your layout. Like I said, for me, I went to do a grandmother's flower garden pattern. So I am Actually, I'm going to make the yellow my center. So I will be joining here, these two sides. And this is important to see because there are multiple times, regardless how you join, where you're going to be coming across the triad corner. So this is important. Okay. So bring it back down to the double. All right, so we're going to chain one, insert our hook into the first corner, and bring our loop through and chain one. That gives us our chain two corner. We're going to double crochet in our new hexagon, insert our hook into the adjacent stitch, draw the loop through. We're going to work our way down just like that. All the way to the corner. Actually, I have a yarn bowl over here for a reason, and leave it to me to not remember to use it. All right. Draw through the adjacent stitch. And I do find myself like, did I draw through? Did I not draw through? The way to tell is that it has an opening. They don't meet. It's not hard to tell the difference between one where you've closed it up or not, but it is one of those, like, it may take you a second to recognize what you're seeing. I mean, right now you can see like this is a loose open. I can rock it back and forth and swing it. But once I slip stitch it to its adjacent stitch here, I can't do that. There's no give on the double crochet. There's no play. Slip into the adjacent stitch. Oh my goodness, I swear. This is why I don't normally film tutorials. All right, so we close that one off. Double crochet into the corner. Slip stitch to the adjacent one. And we're going to chain one here. Now, to me, this is very important. This may not be the most important thing to you guys at the end of the day, but I think it's better to go through both holes. You don't want to create uneven pull and drag as your piece gets used over the years. So the more ways we can secure this across the most number of blocks we can secure this. I've said this also with how I join my corner to corner blankets and stuff. The more corners you can join up and loop into this, the better to create reduced drag, pull points, and stretching points in your finished project. So you're going to take that loop and you're going to draw it through both holes of the previous hexagons. And then you are going to chain one. So we're going to double crochet into our new hexagon. And then now we're working into the second side here. So we're going to be working up into hexagon number 2. So double crochet in the next stitch, slip stitch across, double crochet in your new stitch, slip stitch across. This is a little bit more realistic to how I hold these as I'm putting these together. I don't hold it down like this where I'm working sideways as much. I just flip it over that back finger. But once again, this is all to teach you guys the basic mechanics of how the procedure is performed. Your way of doing this is going to be different than mine. It's about what is comfortable for you. Once you understand that you're working literally back and forth across the pieces, That's what I'm here to teach you. I'm here to teach you what you are actually trying to achieve. We're going to chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1. The method and comfort styling you use to make this easier for yourself, you know, that's your own flair, that's your own thing, and that's a good thing. Your hands, 90% of the time, the way you hold your fabric, the way you hold your needle, the way you balance the combination of things in your hands, 90% of the time, it should not look identical to another person's. I know that we tend to think we are doing things, quote unquote, wrong when we don't do exactly what we've seen demonstrated for us by someone else. And I want to assure you that that's not really necessarily true. As long as your stitch at the end of the day is the same stitch, it's a consistent stitch, and you're getting the gauge you want to meet, there is technically no wrong way to do it. If you're trying to join a guild or something like that, yes, they may have their preferred ways to have things done or to see that you're doing things. But for most of us, where we're doing this for pleasure, for gifts, to sell, whatever is comfortable for you, dear, just make it easy for you. So the way we came across all of these in this triad now, we actually have a multi-stretch, fairly durable join across those corners. You can see the loop there that just kind of braids everything together. And it's nice, clean. And once again, it lies flat just like the rest of the other thing I love about this style of join as you go is it lays flat. It doesn't create bulk at your join, and it stretches with your project, but you're not getting undue stress on any stitch or one side of your stitch, depending on how you do your manual seam work. Once again, if this is not your thing, if the continuous join as you go, or the join as you go method, not continuous join as you go, but join as you go. If this is not your cup of tea, you don't like the way the braid looks, you like the way things look when it's stitched together, you can use the hexagon pattern and hand sew these together. If you like to have a ridge, you can single crochet these together, reverse single crochet these together. You can do these other ways. This is just how I'm joining my own project together. This is the method I'm using for that Nickelodeon blanket. So that's what this tutorial is for, is just for how I'm doing my own project. So here we go. We have our first 3 together. So I decided this is going to be the center of my flower garden block or square or whatever. So I am now going to join the purple hexagon in here. So once again, this will show us how we're joining 2. The method for joining 2 is the same as for joining 3, is the same as for joining 4. It's just as you come into these junctions where you've got the 3 corners together, you want to slip in and go across both holes when you pull that loop from the chain through. So we have our double crochet here. We're going to chain 1, slip into our corner stitch. Oops, chain 1. Now we're going to double crochet, slip, double crochet, take your needle out, insert into the adjacent stitch, put your loop back on, oops, insert into the adjacent stitch. I am having a lot of issues with the focus. My camera really wants to focus on the hexagons today. Draw through. So once again, that's double crochet, insert your hook into the adjacent stitch, put your loop back on your hook, and draw it through. You also get into a really good, easy rhythm with this over time. And like I said, this is the same method. You can use this for joining your granny squares. You can use this for joining other shapes together. This is just a nice and easy way to join square to square if you don't want to have any type of lattice work or trim or lashing or anything else in between. Now there is a continuous join as you go for hexagons. I am using that for a different project using a different type of hexagon. Once again, I have a yarn ball. I don't know why I'm not using it. All right, so we've come into the corner. So we're going to chain one. We're going to go back through the blue, up through the yellow, grab our loop, pull it through, and chain one. And you want that to be fairly tight. You don't want to extend your loop or anything. You want your loop to be its natural size. That way you're not creating extra looseness or laxity. This is just basically incorporating the join into that stitch. So your tension should be equal to how your tension for your stitches are. Notice my loop is the same size as the first time I draw through on a double crochet. Again, most of my tutorials are technique tutorials or shape tutorials. So you can decide how you want things to look, how you want to make things your own, designing your own project. And that's part of what is so important with this craft. It is not meant to shackle you into a single position or a single project. This should be something fun for you to experiment with and achieve new color combinations, learn new shapes, creating the design and the space that you want to have. Like this tutorial, like I said, we'll have pictures at the end of quilts using hexagons that you can kind of build your own design off of. You know, some are like the Nickelodeon blanket where it's just hexagons lined up in stripes. Some are things like this one, which is Grandmother's Flower Garden, which is just creating a basic daisy shape using the hexagons. Other patterns that you can find out there, just, you know, once again, go into Pinterest or Google and search hexagon quilts. And from there, you can use these same techniques of the hexagons that I showed you how to make, plus joining them this way, which I think is just, it simplifies the process significantly. Now, if you do want to do something with like a lashing lattice work or something like that, you know, there are other methods to joining these that might work better for that. Or if you want to come back and do like a final row of, you know, a solid in between color, and then use the same method to join where everything, you know, all of these, like their final border is, you know, the final row is done in, say, off-white. And that would create a double crochet off-white row in between these, just as well as if you were, you know, going to do a continuous join as you go method where you outline and join your or join your hexagons that way. There's just so many different possibilities. This is just one variation, one way to do it. So here we are. with our first 4 hexagons joined. You can see where the flower shape is starting to take shape here. Actually, we have a perfect diamond. Like I said, there's a quilt pattern and the slideshow after this where this is the base for the motif. But here we go. That's how I am joining these for the Nickelodeon hexagon. Like I said, you got nice even corner joins there, even braiding across the sides. Even from the back, you have a nice clean look, other than obviously all my tails hanging out here, but you have a nice clean look. Nothing's bulging or creating bulk. Everything maintains the same width across the project. So if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comment section. Otherwise, I love you guys. I hope you are having a wonderful, fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you guys real soon. Bye, guys. Hi, you guys. Welcome back. My name is Carrie Penny. I am the Happy Crafty Homemaker, and today is the final tutorial, I believe, for how I am doing my Nickelodeon hexagon blanket. So I will insert a picture here of the side of my Nickelodeon hexagon blanket. And you can see what we're going to be doing today is filling in the half hexagons that are made from putting our rows of hexagons together. So if you decided to put these together in a configuration like I did for the tutorial where we made a grandmother's flower garden motif, you will have a whole different combination of ways you can finish that off, either using hexagons, half hexagons, and everything else. But if you're doing what I did for the Nickelodeon blanket, which is piecing these together in strips, making a half hexagon hole, and then these deckled ripple edges, this is how we're going to straighten out this side. You don't have to. You can leave the half hexagon side as is. This is just if you want a straight edge. For the Nickelodeon blanket, this side makes up the long sides of my blanket, whereas the ripple edge makes up these short sides of my blanket. So I did want to fill in these half hexagons for my blanket. Now, in 2 weeks or so, I will have a final video that will just be compiling all of these tutorials together into one long video. Parts are perfectly fine if you want to use this as the tutorial, but I did want to have one video where everything is combined together in one place, as well as in the tutorials playlist. So the other thing I want to caveat this with, if you've not started a blanket or anything and you're just coming into this, for me, this is not a problem. For you, aesthetically, it may be a problem. I worked the hexagons in the round all in one direction. For the half hexagons, we are going to be working backwards and forwards in the hexagon pattern. If that bothers you, Make your hexagons by going backwards and forwards instead of working in the round. Use the same base 2 sequence, your same counts and everything. Just instead of chaining up and working in the same direction, you will chain up, turn, and work back using the exact same stitch pattern. But it does not bother me, especially since this is such a small area, to do this section backwards and forwards and this section in the round. So let's get crack-a-lackin' here. We will do 2 of these here on camera. You can speed this up or slow this down as needed. As with the hexagon tutorial, you will need to know how to chain, slip stitch, double crochet, and also I would recommend not only using this tutorial to join in that half hexagon, but also the joining of the hexagon tutorial, just to understand some of the things that I will be talking about here. So we are going to start with a chain 3 or magic loop, whichever you prefer. As I said, with the hexagon tutorial, this is just to give you a base idea. This isn't, hard and fast rules. You can obviously do these using, single crochets, half double crochets, double crochets, triple crochets, whatever you prefer. But for my blankets, I am using a double crochet. So we are going to create 3 pie wedges. So we need to double crochet twice into our loop, chain 2, double crochet twice into the loop, chain 2, double crochet twice in the loop. I will warn you guys, the cats are out on their catio. I am obviously, if you've been here before, at my kitchen table again. If they start going banana pants, I might have to pause the video. But all right, so we have 2, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, starts to the wedge. So we're going to chain 1, turn. We're going to work 2 double crochets into the first stitch, because we will need to keep the increasing at the same rate as we had in our original hexagons. So we need to double crochet in the next stitch and then double crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2, double crochet into the chain 2 space, and then for the center section, we're just going to work those 2 stitches and into the double crochet or chain 2 space. Woohoo! Chain 2. Again, I am working with Premier Basic yarn. This is the color, I can't read it from here. Pecan. Once again, it's just what I had on hand, not any particular reason. So we're going to double crochet again in the chain 2 space, double crochet in the first stitch, and then 2 double crochets into the last stitch of the 3rd pie wedge. For this sample, we did 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds. So we need to do 1 more round increasing on its own. So chain 1, double crochet twice in the first stitch. Since we've lost the chain 2 space we used to create those increases, we have to do it in that first stitch now. So we'll get 2. We're going to work into the next 2 stitches. Or 3 stitches, I mean. Chain 2, double crochet in the chain 2 space. And now we're going to double crochet across these 4. 1, 2, and then double crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2, double crochet into the chain 2 space. We're going to double crochet in each stitch until the last stitch. And then we're going to double crochet twice into the last stitch. Chain 1 and turn. So this is what we have. And you can see we have our little chain 2 spaces. And this is just going to inset now directly in here. So let me turn my blanket sample around. I'll take a sip of my iced coffee here. After I filmed the tutorial, by the way, for the join and everything, I looked at my final flower motif and was like, that's 100% Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. And just about died laughing. Like, part of me wants to come back and do like black stitch work on it, but it's going to go in a larger project eventually. And I don't want to do that, but at the same time, I kind of want to. All right. So for row 4, we will be joining in this space. So we've chained 1. We're going to insert our hook into our first corner we're joining into. Chain 1. So just like how we joined the hexagons in. We still need to increase on this row, so we're going to double crochet into the first stitch, slip into the adjacent stitch, double crochet again into the first stitch. Take your hook out, insert it into the adjacent hook or adjacent stitch, put the loop back on your hook and draw it through. And now this is exactly like how we joined the hexagons to begin with. We're going to double crochet in our stitch and take our hook out, put it into the adjacent stitch, put our loop back on our hook and slide it on through. Double crochet, slip into the adjacent stitch there, draw it through. Double crochet, slip through the adjacent, draw it through. Double crochet, slip through the adjacent stitch, draw it through. We're going to, oh, I got one more, double crochet into the chain 2 space, slip into the adjacent stitch, draw it through. Okay, so now we are to the triad corner. And like I said, for joining the hexagons, we are going to chain 1. We are going to come to the next hexagon we're going to work into, up through the one we've already been adding onto. We want to draw this through and create a join that goes across as many points as possible. So we want that join to go, the yarn to be drawn through the purple and through the blue in this case, just to create added support at that triad join. Draw it through and chain 1, double crochet in the chain 2 space. And now we're going to be working into the adjacent stitches on the next hexagon. So same thing, we're going to double crochet into our stitch, slip into the adjacent stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, take our hook out, put it into the adjacent stitch, put the loop back on our hook, and draw it through. This is very intuitive if you accept that these half pieces are going to be slightly different than the primary hexagons. And part of the reason why it doesn't bother me, especially for something like this, like the Nickelodeon blanket, it's going to be knocked around and loved and hopefully, treated roughly over the next 10 years. This isn't meant for me. The blanket I'm making, it is not meant to be an heirloom. It is meant to be, a well used project. So once again, we're in the corner stitch here. So, having that minor difference of the back and forth versus in the round, I mean, visually, it picks up more on camera than it does in person. And to me, visually, it's just not different enough to be a problem. But like I said, if it is a problem, just work your hexagons back and forth instead of working them in the round like I did. All right, so we're going to insert our hook through the corner of the pink, bring it up through the corner of the blue, draw our chain 1 loop through, chain 1, and now we're going to double crochet into this round corner piece and slip it into the adjacent stitch here. I can now hear my crow pack. I've got a fairly sizable murder of crows that hang out in my backyard, generally in the morning. It's kind of late in the day for them to be in my yard. But something has disturbed them. We've also had a fox that's been spending a lot of time in our backyard recently. So we're back to the last stitch. We're going to double crochet into that last stitch, draw through, second double crochet in that last stitch, draw through, chain 1, and we're going to loop it through that corner stitch, just like we have with the others. So we'll cut my yarn, draw it through. We can rotate my work here so you get a slightly better angle on it there. So again, we'll do the same thing to fill in this half hexagon. For me, I'm going to chain 3, slip stitch to make the loop, chain 1, double crochet twice, chain 2, double crochet twice, chain 2, double crochet twice, chain 1, and turn. 2 double crochets in the first stitch to maintain our base 2. I did not double crochet twice in the first stitch. And this is why you are patient with yourself. My fingers already think they know what they're doing after making 9 million hexagons in the last couple months. All right, so we're on row 2, so we should have 4 double crochets, chain 2, 1 double crochet in the chain 2, 1 in each of the next 2 double crochets, 1, 2, 1 in the corner. That brings us up to 4 in our center pie wedge, 1, 2, 3, 4, double crochet in the chain 2, double crochet in the next stitch, 2 double crochets in the last stitch, 1 and 2, chain 1 and turn. So that is row 2. 2 double crochets in the first stitch, 1, 2. This is row 3, so this pie wedge should have 6 stitches. We're going to double crochet our way across. And then 1 double crochet in the chain 2 space. Don't forget, if I'm crocheting too fast or going too fast, you can slow the video down or speed it up depending on what you need. Double crochet in the chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, double crochet in the chain 2 space. That gives me 6 double crochets, chain 2, double crochet in the chain 2 space, double crochet to the last stitch, 1, and then we have 2 in the last stitch, which gives us 6 stitches, 2, 4, and 6, chain 1. Now we're getting ready to start row 4 here. We're inserting our new piece in like this. So we are going to get that tail out of our way. Insert our hook into the first corner here. Slip our chain 1 through, chain 1 again. Double crochet into the first stitch. Slip into the adjacent stitch. Double crochet a second time into your first stitch because we need to maintain that increase. And now we're going to work down as normal, or as for a whole hexagon. It is definitely a challenge crocheting through the camera sometimes. I have 0 depth perception when I'm filming a tutorial. And this is a fairly long time straight to crochet through a camera, so I'm filming this in one straight shot because that's all I've got time to do. All right, we're to the corner here, so we're gonna double crochet into the chain 2 space, slip into the adjacent stitch, chain 1, and we're gonna come and go in to the teal, up through the pink, grab our loop, draw the chain 1 loop through, chain 1, double crochet in our chain 2 space, slip into our adjacent stitch. So I've gotten messages from a number of you guys who have started projects using these tutorials already. How are you guys enjoying it so far? I know one person had said they're making a giant hexagon blanket, and one said they want to do something similar to the Nickelodeon blanket that I'm working on. And another one said she got inspired by the quilt designs I showed in the join video. So I'm just wondering what you guys are working on or what you're planning on making. Because to me, these are a lot of fun. I'm now on a whole hexagon kick. To be fair, once I'm done with today's tutorial, I'm going to rip off this extra section I put on here and repurpose these hexagons into another flower garden block. And this will be one of the on-the-go perpetual scrap gans that I have for donation or gifting. Chain 1, go in through the aqua, up through the teal, grab our loop and draw it through. Chain 1, double crochet, join as if we're a standard hexagon until we get to the last brown stitch or half hexy stitch. Not everybody's half hexy is going to be pecan brown. And once again, you can do these in any weight yarn. You can do these in any stitch you want. This isn't the only way to do it. I do really like the base 2 though. The base 2 for the solid granny definitely gives you a good hexagon base, especially if you wanted to, you know, add like flowers or anything to the center of your hexagon and stuff. And it's easy to spot and see what you actually have going on. Okay, we're going to double crochet into the last stitch here, slip into the adjacent stitch. Once again, double crochet into the last stitch. We're going to slip into the last stitch, chain 1, and bring it through. And draw through our end there. So that is what we have. Let me flip this piece back around here so you get a better look at how that is here. Obviously I still have all my ends, but that is what it looks like. And like I said, I mean, really, you just don't see that much of a difference. And like I said, in person, it's even more imperceptible. Like, if you didn't spend all the time making the blanket, you would never see the difference between these two. No non-crocheter is ever going to spot that difference, I don't think. A fellow crocheter might spot that, but even then they'd probably be like, oh yeah, well that makes sense. It's easier to work these back and forth and it's easier to work these in the round. But like I said, if this slight difference between the back and forth and then the round is going to bother you, just work the hexagons back and forth instead of in the round like I did. I just think in the round is cleaner and easier, especially as this has been a walking project for me, not a, you know, sit down and work on it project. This is my on the go project, quite literally. So that is how you square up the edge on the hexagon blanket. Like I said, for the Nickelodeon blanket, I am leaving my decal edge down here. I'm not squaring up the short side. I just squared up my long edge. So if you guys have any questions, leave them down below. Questions, comments, concerns. I do really genuinely want to know what you are making using this tutorial. What are your plans? Like I said, with the Nickelodeon blanket, I just joined strips and squared them off. For my next one that I'm planning, I'm doing a grandmother's flower garden with the scraps. And this is the first flower motif. See if I can get some extension here. Nope, that's as far as we go. So this motif here is actually my first motif, and I'm going to repurpose these 3 into another flower motif. And then I actually have some white speckled yarn, and I also have some green yarn. And I was thinking about doing 2 green hexagons to border these to look like leaves, and the rest in white, the white speckled, to join them. So like all of my traditionally girly colors or more pastel-y colors and stuff, I think will go into this blanket. And the only neutral I will use will be the white. Everything else will be a more dynamic color. And then I do have plans for a different grandmother's flower garden where I'm going to do one color for all the centers. Each flower will be one color. And then I'm thinking about even doing those 2 flower rings out. So one color for ring 1, one color for ring 2. And then maybe joining it with a different color, but I haven't decided yet. But this will be my scrap project for now. And I think I have a little girl in mind for this blanket when it's done, but it may take me 2 years to finish it. So anyway, I love you guys. I hope you're having a wonderful, fantastic day. I look forward to seeing you guys real soon. Please take care of yourselves. Bye, you guys.